Hi everyone, I hope you're having an amazing day so far. I just wanted to thank you guys for being here. But if you haven't been here yet, my name is Dina, and on my channel I talk about all things green, including plants, plant-based food, and sustainability. And I also have a small business where I make macrame, home decor, and accessories, so I may talk about small business tips or Etsy tips as well. So if you're into that sort of thing, make sure you subscribe and like this video, and also follow me on Instagram and TikTok, earthlingdina, or at readysetnotco, which is my small business page. In my last video, I talked about beginner houseplants, and one of them was the monstera adansonii, and I actually got a couple requests on Instagram to make a video about how to propagate this guy, so that's what we're gonna do today. So let's get right into the video. Okay, so before we start propagating, let's talk about what even is propagation. So propagation in the simplest terms is the process of creating a new plant. So this can be done in multiple ways, such as planting seeds or corms, or taking pieces of the mother plant and recreating a new plant out of that. I'm not sure if there's other ways. I'm definitely not an expert. The only two ways that I have created new plants are from corms, which we'll talk about in another video, or from cuttings. So in this video, let's propagate the monstera adansonii from a cutting. Propagating plant cuttings can be done in multiple ways, and I would definitely like to do a video on that as well, but I haven't tried everything out yet, and I would definitely like to. So there are different ways to propagating a cutting, but in today's video I'm going to use water propagation, and I will definitely try out other ways in the future, but I find that water propagation works really well for monstera adansonii. But other ways just to bring them up are propagating in perlite, I've seen, in leca, or leca. What's the other one? Directly in soil, I think, can be done. It really depends on the plant, but that can be done too. Or there's also pon, which, if you don't understand what any of those words are, I definitely will do videos on that since I am learning more about them this year. But the easiest way and the first way I ever propagated a plant was by water propagation. Now, if you don't have a monstera adansonii but you're still interested in creating a new plant, this can be done with your pothos, or if you have a mini monstera, which isn't actually a monstera, it's a Rhaphidophora tetrasperma. But if you have one of those, or you have one of those, or one of those, you can definitely follow along in this video and propagate your plants with me. So let's get into it. I just brought you to my kitchen because I find I prefer to do plant chores here instead. I feel like it's just easier, and it's easier to clean up if I make a mess. But yeah, let's get into what you need to propagate. So of course you're gonna need your mother plant, which this is actually a cutting of my mother plant. My mother plant has since died. Well, actually not completely. I took off all of the leaves, all of the cuttings, and I left like the little stubs that have roots on it, and they're starting to grow again. So I'll definitely show you that afterwards. Is it focused on me? But basically you'll want a plant that's large enough so you won't really miss it if you take a couple leaves, or if your plant isn't doing so well and the roots are dying, you can always propagate everything and just like throw away the roots and basically start over again. It's so easy. So you're gonna want for this, of course, is your mother plant. You're gonna want a pair of sanitized scissors, or like a knife, anything to cut that is sanitized and won't spread anything to your plant. You're gonna want I prefer to use a clear jar, or just some kind of clear bottle. I like to save like my hot sauce bottles or something and then wash them, clean them out, because they look cute and they're perfect for propagating. Well, because you can really see when the roots are starting to grow and it looks super pretty. So I'm gonna fill this with water, and then I'm gonna show you how to cut your plant. To take a cutting of your plant isn't as simple as just snipping a part off and sticking it in water. You want to be cutting at a certain point where you know roots will be able to grow from. and that we call a node. Okay, so I have my plant here, and you see it's growing a couple new leaves, so I'm not sure where I'm gonna take. Honestly, I might take this one here. So when I look at the stem, you're not gonna be cutting the leaves, you're gonna be looking more at the stem. So there's these little nubs here. You see each one. This one here can be a new leaf. If you can see close enough, there's actually, oh, there's hair. There's actually a little point where a leaf can come out, but basically these nodes here are where roots can form. And you can see here too. Each one of these is a point where you can cut. So let's look at this again. Where can you cut on here? Take a minute to guess. Correct, you can cut at this point or at this point or even down here, but I think these two are the best spots to do it. I personally don't want to cut this one because it's growing so nicely, and this one here is just kind of one stem sticking out, and it already has one leaf on it and may grow more leaves at the bottom. I'm not sure, but I really want to cut right in here somewhere. So you're going to take your sanitized scissors and make the cut. So I like to cut probably like the lower one. You see, like I have this here I can cut, or here. I'm gonna cut right here just in case something doesn't work out with this. I can always re-snip and try propagating this part. Now, I'm not sure like what the failure rate is, because it can happen that roots don't form, but honestly I think they will be fine. So let's just make the cut. So I'm gonna go in there, and basically you're just gonna snip. Ta-da! Okay, so now that we've cut our plant, I have it right here, and I have my nodes on here. Now, I think both of these nodes will be able to grow roots. Let me just peel off. There's a little bit of like skin on them. Okay, so you should be able to see my nodes here, and don't look at my fingers, please. I'm nervous bite. But yeah, so this part here is the part we're gonna wanna make sure is underwater, because that's where the roots are going to form. Okay, so now that you finished up with this plant and you took your cutting, all I do is plop it in water. And we'll check on it once it starts to grow roots. Okay, so I'm finally back with an update on my adansonii cutting. It has been 9 weeks, and now it's finally growing roots. So usually cuttings should only take about 3 to 4 weeks to start rooting. It might depend on the different plant, how long it takes, and whether it's successful. There are lots of different environmental factors that may determine whether a cutting is successful. I almost gave up on mine. I wanted to throw it away. Usually I have success with my cuttings, but I'm gonna show you it now and then talk about things that maybe I could have done better, and what I think went wrong, I guess. But it did root, so I'm happy about that. I have a bunch of other cuttings from my mother plant. Like I said, I took a bunch. There's a bunch still in water, so I'm gonna be planting those instead of this one. I'm gonna wait for this one to root even more, but I'm going to be showing you the ones that have been rooting longer as well. So let's just look at it. So here's my jar. I ended up putting it in another jar because I wanted to use the other one for something else because it was taking forever. Anyway, I just checked it today and I saw that it had rooted, so I'm gonna show you the one that rooted. So it ended up losing one of its leaves. It went yellow, so I cut it off. I was like, this guy's dying, why is it not working? But I left this end in there, and now it's finally growing a root. Okay, so that was the cutting that I almost gave up on, but finally, it's been 9 weeks. I did this January 8th, and it is, oh my god, I don't even remember the day today. March 15th, and it's finally growing a root. So I'm going to suggest some tips so that you can have success in this as well, because it can be frustrating if you like put in the work and nothing happens and then you lose part of your original plant basically because you can't reattach it. So I'm glad this worked. I'm gonna put it back in the water because yeah, I don't want to ruin it. But some tips for you to have success. Number one is take more than one cutting. If your plant is small, that can be hard. So if you want to try with just one cutting, like you might risk it not growing. Not all cuttings will root. I mean, I feel like 99% of mine do, but I have experienced some just not rooting. So it's always best to take multiple cuttings so that you have more of a chance of them rooting. Like I have this whole bottle here of cuttings that I need to pot, and they all grew roots for the most part. I think there was a couple that ended up just, they didn't root, they just rotted in the water, so I had to throw them away. But see, if you take a lot, you'll get a lot more. Now this was like my whole plant because it was doing really bad. It had thrips, it was growing really scraggly. I decided to just chop the whole thing, and yeah, so I ended up just potting, propagating, and then potting most of them. I have two behind here that I showed you already, I think. And yeah, so take multiple cuttings because that way you can actually grow a new plant. Plus, if you only take one cutting and are trying to grow a new plant, it's going to take forever for that plant to actually grow. So this way you can have a more lush plant at the beginning. For number two, I would say propagate in the growing season. So most plants, like it depends where you are, but I know my plants, I'm in Canada, during the winter they don't grow as fast, even though like I try to keep up tropical conditions in my house. Like they do not grow as fast during the winter season. So more so like March, like now until really September, they are actively growing and growing a lot faster, so propagating is a lot easier, and I've noticed it's a lot quicker too. So I've never had one take so freaking long, but usually mine will root like within a week, start rooting, and then like 4 to 8 weeks they'll have really nice long roots. So I would say propagate when your plant is actually growing fast. Your growing season might be different, but if you are noticing that your plant is growing a lot faster, that is probably it's like active growing season. So I would say try propagating, then you might have more success. I'm not sure this had an impact on my plant, but your propagations are still plants, so they should still be getting sunlight. So if you're just putting your propagation somewhere random, they might not grow roots. So I would say definitely make sure it has the same condition as all of your other plants so that it can work on putting out those roots. Number 4, I would say, I've never tried this, but I know a lot of people use growth hormones. Or I think they're called rooting hormones. I'm not exactly sure. But basically it's like this powder that you dip the end of your plant in that helps it grow roots faster. I've never tried it, but I really want to, so if you want to see me try it before you try it and see if it actually works better, let me know in the comments and I'll try to make a video on it. I'll find some. I'm pretty sure they sell it everywhere, so yeah, I'll try it out. But basically those are my 4 tips for making sure you have success in your propagations. And yeah, that was just the video on how to propagate adansonii. If you try it, definitely send me a picture on Instagram at earthlingdina, because I would love to see how yours turned out. I was going to continue this video and show you how I propagate and then also pot cuttings once they're rooted, but I think I'm going to save that for another video. So be sure to click the bell notification down below and subscribe so that you're notified when I post that and when I post all other videos. Thank you so much for being here and watching this video. I will see you in the next one. Have a good day. Bye.